Hi everyone. This week there's two discussion threads. The first one is to do with the readings this week, and the second one is just some very brief planning details for assessment piece 2. Last week we started on that process because the discussion thread sort of got you thinking about visual literacy and some of the programs that you might use. Now getting on to this week's readings, we have two readings to look at. The first one is quite a large reading, the Vector report, which is quite a large research report about mainly the use of digital technologies in ECE education in the UK, but it contains a very comprehensive literature review that deals with the international research in this regard. And then we have a second paper about missing the boat with new digital technologies in ECE and how we need to get on top of that to offer children a quality education. Now, talking about the Vector report, it gives a very good examination of some of the key issues in the use of digital technologies at the moment in early childhood settings. It deals mainly with digital technologies rather than design technologies, but it's a very good piece of work. I don't expect you to know all of that because obviously it's a very extensive document, but look at the things like the summary and the findings and the recommendations, things like that, and then some of those key issues in the lit review. A very important finding of this document is the importance of pedagogy in the use of digital technologies. They feel that this is one of the ingredients that's missing, and why perhaps there has been some models of use of ICT and digital technologies in ECE settings that haven't really been what we call the best examples of the use of digital technologies. Another thing shown by this research was the widespread use of digital technologies by young children in their homes, and because of this the importance of leveraging on that in their education. Another thing was the vast increase in the use of assistive technologies for students with disabilities. A lot of students were using all sorts of technologies to enable them to engage in regular ECE settings that they couldn't do in the past. Another finding was that digital technologies were found to be a really good catalyst for social interaction. That was one of the earlier concerns, that a lot of screen time and engaging with digital technologies might lead to social isolation, whereas the research has shown that's actually the opposite occurs. Another thing the research found that teachers need to be very aware of is some gender stereotyping that exists in digital technologies. It's not completely obvious in the early years. It's a little bit more obvious in primary, then more obvious in secondary. The further we get in the system, the more obvious the effects of the gender stereotyping become. So we really have to be aware of that, and if we see examples of it, we need to think of ways of overcoming that or making children aware of it, parents aware of it, and so on. Some of the points that were made about effective use of ICT in ECE settings were that it encouraged collaboration, that it supported the integration of ICT across other key areas, that it supported play, and that it enabled child control. So that child control, child-centeredness was found to be very important. When choosing the software and the types of ICT used, it should be transparent and intuitive. And getting back to the point that the research made before, teachers should avoid stereotyping and violence in the types of things that are chosen for young students to use. It also supported the development of an awareness of health and safety issues, and it supported the involvement of parents. So all of those key points are important in ensuring that we get effective use of digital technologies. Now, the Missing the Boat paper, some main points made in that paper revolved around that theme of missing the boat, about how important digital technologies are in today's society, and the fact that quite a few ECE centres and settings had failed to really leverage on ICT and digital technologies and use them as much as what we could be using them for. and they thought that to be effective, ECE teachers need to understand how to use research-based instructional strategies. They need to understand why a specific technology tool is important to young children. So each technology tool that's chosen, whether it's a new technology, old technology, needs to be chosen with that in mind about how it's important in that particular context for that particular task. They need to be able to demonstrate the ability to use technology tools, especially new digital technologies. So if ECE teachers can demonstrate the ability to use the tools, then that in itself isn't enough, because the final point they make is that they need to be able to apply the technology tools in that ECE setting. And that requires an understanding of the new curriculum, an understanding of the children in that particular context, an understanding of the context of that particular centre and the parents that are involved in that centre. So all of those things combine to build up a great understanding of what's needed and how to apply those tools effectively. There's a lot more in the papers than that, so I'll leave it there. And the other thing I'd just like to remind you of is to make the 2 posts this week, the one about these 2 readings, and then there's another thread where you can just answer some questions under headings that will help with the planning process with assessment piece 2.